So I am kind of part of that group that thinks, man, if I have a kid or two, like am I part of the problem or not? Like I am creating a lot bigger just waste, carbon footprint, like however you want to say it. There is consideration to be had on what we're doing to the planet. And so yeah, I'm interested to track after the show and see how your social media engagement is doing on this, because I can imagine, yeah, women and men will be happy to at least have someone listening to them to say that it's okay. And like you said, you're not weird.
Well, I mean, we are weird, but it just depends on the measurement group. So everybody gets messed up on like comparing themselves to others. And this drives me crazy. Like by 40, you have to have done this. And by 50, you have to have done this. And this is like, what race are you running? Who are you running against? Like, how are we
Right.
comparing this? And what you realize is all of that is just bull. There's no rhyme or reason behind it. We're just expected because of society to do these things. And one of the things I get is like, well, if we don't have kids, we're not going to have consumers and the economy is going to go down. I'm like, well, first of all,
I hate that argument so desperately.
well, let me kind of play that one out. So you're going to say and this happens to be U.S. based. So U.S. based economy always has to grow. We have to have more workers for Social Security. Well, guess what? You can fix that with immigration. You can adjust populations if you want. You go, oh no, that's not what I mean. I'm like, well, if the issue is growth and population, what you mean is you want certain growth and certain population. Like the judgments are just ridiculous.
Right.
And the only thing that constantly grows and takes over would be like a virus or bacteria.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're saying.
Cancer.
Constantly consume and constantly grow. It's cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
not what we want to
agree with that. I was actually had it written down. I was going to mention that, like this idea of a while ago, I was speaking with two friends and they're in finance, and we were having this idea of growth, and you couldn't even bring up the idea of talking about, is growth for growth's sake a good idea? Like they acted like I just murdered somebody in front of them. And it was unbelievable that you can't even approach this conversation to be like, maybe we should make things that are more sustainable in general. Maybe the whole use case for commerce shouldn't be disposable goods. Maybe we shouldn't be purchasing all these fast fashion things that just end up in the ocean. Like the whole thing is insane. And I think it's kind of starts, and it's part and parcel with like this pro-natalist society that you have to have 2.1 kids or otherwise we're gonna decrease in population. Well, great, there'll be less traffic. And they're like, what do you want me to say?
Well, and let me pull this one apart. So, I'm in the financial community, so I'm allowed to pick on our own people. One of the issues is most of finance, in investment finance, they're paid based on a percentage of the assets they manage. So if they're paid by, let's say, 1% of assets under management, their role as a financial planner is they always want that number to go up.
Right.
That means their salary goes up. That has a built-in conflict of interest with child-free folks. Their goal is to go down to die with zero. So can an advisor who is being paid 1% really advise people to spend their money and go down? The answer is, I don't know. It's a huge conflict. It's actually why we charge a flat fee. We charge we charge 10 grand per year is our price, and it doesn't matter how much you have in assets, because then we can actually give you advice on, here's what you really need. Other things, life insurance, don't need it for child-free folks. I mean, there's very few cases where I'm going to say you need life insurance. Like basic assumptions just don't work. So if the model is always your net worth has to go up, you have to make money off the percentage. If we're not growing and we're not going up, the system does fall apart. They're correct on that. That does not mean the system's right. Like that just means
exactly
there's a flaw in the system.
Right. Yeah, I don't like people that become this enforcer of status quo in the systems that we built right now. Like there are people that want to destroy everything that we built as far as like a centralized government, etc. And my point is always to say, like, governments can be good and bad. And right now we're in the modern era, the iPhone era, but we're working with a foundational system that was built hundreds of years ago. So we're still waiting for these two eras to integrate. So yes, we need more accountability with public spending. We need more transparency. We need all of these things. And so kind of like in what you're saying as well, that like, yeah, we need to rethink all of these systems, because now we're living in a world that people do have more choices, like being child free. Contraception is a real thing. Women have a lot more power in Western society to decide, like, I don't want kids, or I had one, I don't want any more. This oven's closed.